Ukraine's crisis has been caused by the West, Russian President Vladimir Putin says, as he works on Franco-German proposals to end fighting between the government and pro-Russia rebels. Western countries had broken pledges not to expand NATO and forced countries to choose between them and Russia, Mr. Putin told an Egyptian newspaper. The comments come amid new hopes of a peace deal this Wednesday. Russia denies accusations of sending troops and supplying the rebels. The fighting in eastern Ukraine has claimed more than 5,300 lives and driven 1.5 million people from their homes. At least 9 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in the past 24 hours, officials say. Fighting is said to be intense around the town of Debaltseve, near the rebel-held city of Donetsk. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is due to brief U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington later on Monday on the peace plan Germany and France have tried to reach with Ukraine and Russia. The Washington talks come as the U.S. considers sending weapons to the Ukrainian government. There is pressure in Washington on President Obama to adopt a tougher stance, the BBC's Rajani Vaidyanathan reports from the U.S. Capitol. Some officials, as well as senior Republicans such as Senator John McCain, argue that some form of military support is necessary, our correspondent adds. But Ms. Merkel told a security conference at the weekend that she could not imagine any situation in which improved equipment for the Ukrainian army leads to President Putin being so impressed that he believes he will lose militarily. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has denied any rift with EU leaders, saying, "I keep hearing people trying to create one. We are united, we are working closely together." Ms. Merkel and French President François Hollande have been leading efforts to revive the Minsk peace plan, which collapsed amid fighting over the winter. The detailed proposals have not been released, but the plan is thought to include a demilitarized zone of 50 to 70 kilometers, 31 to 44 miles, around the current front line. The four leaders have announced plans to meet in Minsk on Wednesday, provided agreement is reached in the meantime in talks in Berlin. German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier said on Monday there were hopes for a settlement but nothing had been agreed. At the start of a visit to Egypt, President Putin renewed his attack on Western countries for their hollow promises not to expand NATO to include former Soviet countries, and therefore ignoring Russian interests. There had been attempts, Mr. Putin told Egypt's Al-Ahram newspaper, to tear states which had been parts of the former USSR Soviet Union off Russia and to prompt them to make an artificial choice between Russia and Europe. "We repeatedly warned the US and its Western allies about harmful consequences of their interference in Ukrainian domestic affairs, but they did not listen to our opinion," the Russian leader said. He went on to accuse them of supporting a coup d'état in Kiev, a reference to the ousting of former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych last year. He lost power amid protests over his decision to scrap a deal that would have seen Ukraine establish closer ties with the European Union. Since then, Russia has annexed Ukraine's Crimea Peninsula and rebels in the east have sought to establish full control over the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk.